The Fiat 124 Spider was originally introduced back in 1966. Fast forward 50 years to the 2016 model year, and it's the car you see here, and it came back thanks to a joint venture with the Mazda Miata. In fact, this Fiat is built in Japan alongside the Miata despite its Italian badge. The major differences between the 124 and the Miata involves the turbocharged multi-air Fiat engine, the shocks, the exterior styling, and greater cargo capacity in the Fiat. The version we're driving today is the 124 Spider Abarth, which from a horsepower and numbers standpoint doesn't really make much sense because it has a 164 horsepower Turbo 4, which is actually only 4 horsepower more than the standard 124 Spider. But the Abarth version is much more than just numbers. The interior is sportier with optional leather and Alcantara suede seats, red accent stitching throughout, and the one we're driving today has black and red heated leather seats. There isn't as much competition these days for small roadsters and sports cars, especially in this price range. The regular 124 Spider starts at $24,995, while this Abarth version starts at $28,295. Right off the bat, that sounds like good value to me. The Abarth version also has a limited slip differential and sport-tuned quad-tip exhaust as standard. With almost every option box checked, the price will be right around $35,000. So what options should you choose, and what is it like to spend 24 hours with the Fiat 124 Abarth Spider? Let's find out. The Fiat 124 Spider Abarth is really a unique vehicle in the marketplace. Now, I know there's all this talk about this being called a Fiata, and it's based on the Mazda Miata and all that kind of stuff, but I happen to like the styling of this car better than the Miata. Now, I love the Mazda Miata, don't get me wrong. I've driven quite a few of the different body styles over the years, and that's a car that I really like. It's so well balanced. I feel like it just gets better and better with each model year and each time that they redo it. But this is a car that I think is special because it has just enough of that Italian flair to make it exciting. I love these seats, the red and black with the stitching. I love the idea of having these Bose speakers in the headrest, which, by the way, makes it really easy to take a hands-free phone call using Bluetooth, even if you have the top down. The microphone can hear you quite well. I've tested this myself, but it's really funny the first couple times that you do it because more so with the Bluetooth connection than the actual sound system, it sounds like the people are behind you. So you kind of think, well, there's no back seat in this car. Is someone talking behind me? Because it's literally right here next to your ears where that's taking place. So I think that's a pretty cool feature. I think that every convertible or every roadster needs to have a few things, at least in 2018, to make it exciting. I think it needs to have an engine that's peppy. I think it needs to have a good exhaust note. I think it needs to have a reasonable amount of luxury features, but not over the top. Like, for example, this car has, Bluetooth and GPS. Heated seats is a big thing. I think if you want to be able to use this car, especially if you live in an area of the country or area of the world that gets all 4 seasons, or it gets cold there, you want to be able to use the convertible feature as long as possible. So heated seats, a really good air conditioner, and a really good heater are both essential, I think, in a convertible like this. Then you want to be comfortable and you want it to be sporty. This car has just about every option that you can order on the 124 Spider Abarth. The only thing this doesn't have, it does not have the Brembo brakes, which I think would be nice, especially if you're really purchasing the Abarth version because you are wanting performance. I'd probably go ahead and get those if it was me, just to make sure that we maximize all of the performance options on that list. Now, something I wouldn't get, I don't necessarily have to have blind spot monitoring and some of the other things that come with a few of these driver aid packages and things. I don't necessarily care about that. I think navigation is nice. I think just being able to hook up your phone is a nice feature. This has a couple of USB ports down here, so both people can do that. It has nice, easy to get to controls for the infotainment system. It's really kind of funny because this volume knob is back kind of far on the armrest, but you realize very quickly that there's a lot of buttons on the steering wheel. You can do your voice activation, the phone call, cruise control here as well, and you've got volume, and you can change and do all sorts of things with the audio, all on the steering wheel. So you don't necessarily need this knob. It's kind of far back, but it's nice if the passengers want to adjust the volume. The other thing this car has that I would not get necessarily is the automatic transmission. I mean, yes, you can shift it manually both with the shifter, and it does have paddle shifters, and they respond okay. They're definitely not the best on the market as far as that goes. It's not undrivable. It's not something that's going to be annoying. It's not like, oh, you have to glance down at your watch while you're waiting for it to shift. It's reasonably quick, but I think it could be faster, which is why I would just skip that altogether. It's well over $1,000 to get the automatic transmission. I say forget that. Use that money to get those Brembo brakes and get the stick shift. That's what I would do personally. Some other options, it's really just about personal preference as far as some of the colors. There's only one color that actually does cost extra. I think this red is the best color, especially with the black trim, the black accents. These are the only wheels that you can choose from the factory on the Abarth. And so I think having this darker wheel, I think looks really great with this red paint, especially when you have the black top. I don't always think red interior looks nice with a red car, but in this case, it's subtle enough, and it's really just the insert, and it's a little bit of stitching, not only on the seats, but on the steering wheel and across this dash here. So I think that makes a big difference when you're talking about wanting to say, well, I think I want to get a red interior. I read online some people were complaining and said they didn't think it had very much cargo space, and no, it doesn't have a glove box. You have this little deal here, which, I mean, it's fine. I mean, plenty of Roadsters don't have a glove box. I don't think this is about taking a lot of stuff with you. It's about the sheer joy of driving. And you can get enough luggage in there with a couple of duffel bags to go on an overnight trip or for a weekend. That's not a big deal, which, you know, if you've ever driven like the Toyota MR2 from the early 2000s, it had basically zero cargo space. You know, the Alfa Romeo 4C, great looking car, really neat car, basically no cargo space. And so compared to those cars, this has a ton of space. If you want something that's got more space than this, maybe you should get a 4-seat convertible where you could fold those seats down. Now, something else I've heard people complaining about is nobody apparently wants to deal with a manual soft top these days. I don't really understand that because I'm going to show you here in like 5 seconds just how easy it is to put this top down. There's one latch right up here in the middle. You pull it just like that, you'll see the windows automatically go down. There's little handles here on both sides, and you just get it loose, and you push like that, and it clicks into place, and that's it. You can push some other buttons over here, and you can put the windows down, and you're ready for some top-down driving. You want to put the top back up? It's actually even easier. This latch right here in the middle clicks it out of place. Grab it, bring it up here to the front, hit the latch, and you're good to go. In some ways, I think that's better than having a power top. You know, so many of those, you have to undo the latch and then you hold down a button. In some cases, the emergency brake has to be on, so you have to be stopped. This is something that you could do easily at a stoplight if you're starting to, you know, feel some drops of rain or things like that. And I think that makes it a really nice feature. You know, something else that I think about as I'm driving along in this is something that I hear Jay Leno say quite frequently, which is that it's more fun to drive a slow car fast than it is to drive a fast car slow. And that's really what comes to mind. I mean, this car has 164 horsepower, which is not very much. It's a turbo 4-cylinder. But as you're driving along, you really, as you start to lay into it, it really does start to wind up nicely, and you get a lot of the great sounds, and you get a reasonable amount of power. The car does not feel slow. One of the other things I really love about this car is the fact that you've got these really ridiculous heated seats. I've only had them on high for a little bit. Now, by the way, today we're out here driving and it's a little cloudy. This is the second day I've had this car. And the temperature's like 48 degrees, which is not very warm. And I've had the windows up and the heater's kind of on low here, but these heated seats in the high setting will absolutely melt your shorts, which is what you want in a car that's a convertible. I think the fact that the air conditioning works so well and the heater works so well and these heated seats get so ridiculously hot, you'll really be able to use this car a lot more than you can some other convertibles. The car has a great sound to it and a great feel to it. I tell you what, this is a car that'll always put a smile on your face. If it only had a manual transmission, I think it would be just about perfect. I've really enjoyed driving this car for the last couple of days. I love the way these seats feel. They have a great feel to them. They're quite a bit sportier than what they look. They really kind of wrap around you and they feel really nice. There's not a ton of wind noise in here. I mean, it's like any other convertible, but you do have this nice deflector here in the middle and you have the nice roll hoops. I think in a Roadster, you know, you sit down a little bit more and you get just enough of the wind. Of course, I have the windows up now so we can record this audio. But you get a little bit of the sense of the Abarth exhaust, and you get a little sense of the turbo. in the front, and there's a lot of nice sounds to it, and it's not overdone. Nothing about the car is overdone. It doesn't have too much power. It doesn't have too loud of an exhaust. Everything's working together nicely, and I think this is a great car, especially for the price. Give it some juice here. It just continues to put a smile on your face. The more that you drive it, the more that you're gonna want one. You know, the thing about buying a new one of these versus buying, you know, another European sports car on the used market is that you get a warranty with this. It's 4 years, 50,000 miles. It gets pretty good gas mileage. You're in the mid-30s on the highway, like most of these smaller cars. I mean, it doesn't weigh very much. I think the big question that people want to know is this better than a Miata? And in some ways, yes, I think so, because I'm just drawn to Italian cars anyway. I think that the sound of them and the little bit of you have to use all these cliche terms like passion and all this kind of stuff, but there's just a little bit of extra flair with this car that you don't get with the Miata, and I think that's part of what makes it special. The other thing is I probably see 5 Miatas on the road for every one of these, and certainly even less than that if you're talking about this Abarth version. What a neat little car. Really enjoyed spending a couple of days with it. The bottom line on this car for me is one of delight. I really enjoyed my time with the 124 Abarth and would like to drive it again soon. I would probably check all of the option boxes that this car has except for the automatic transmission. It was just okay in my opinion, even in manual shift mode. I found myself longing for 3 pedals and a stick shift. I say instead check the Brembo brakes with red brake calipers box instead of the automatic for roughly the same price. The only option I'm really on the fence about is the hand-painted Heritage Racing stripe, which my test car did not have. Here's a couple of photos for reference. It includes the front fascia, hood, rear deck lid, and spoiler in black for just a hair under $2,000. I like it, but I'm not sure I'd $2,000 like it. I think it really depends on the exterior color that you choose, and I will admit I have not seen one with it in person. Everything else about the car is great. It drives really nicely, it's not the fastest or the best handling car in the world, and it's not trying to be. The overall fun factor makes up for any shortcomings. If you're looking for a small roadster or sports car that has a nice exhaust note, great seats, a decent amount of luxury features for its class, and is really not that common on the road, I would seriously consider the Fiat 124 Abarth Spider. Thanks for watching this edition of Phil's Morning Drive, and we'll see you next time.